Thankfully, I finally spotted japonica rice on the top shelf. To make sure I didn't accidentally bring home the wrong indica variety, I carefully compared it again with the few bags of japonica rice I had already picked up. The thought of my wife's stern face flashed through my mind. I promised myself I wouldn't make such a mistake again. But really, how could anyone imagine a lodging facility without air conditioning? For this trip, I had reserved accommodations in advance along the entire route. 20 nights in total, including tonight. Some were already paid in full, while others, though not prepaid, were non-refundable according to hotel policy. Not a single dollar could be reclaimed. Worries began to flood my mind. In all my 56 years, today must have been the longest distance I've ever driven in a single day. In Korea, even traveling from Seoul to Busan, the southern tip of the country, doesn't exceed 400 kilometers. Yet today, I had driven 600 kilometers in one day. And not leisurely, but under the pressure of making it to Bordeaux on time. Surely, I was the most exhausted of us all. My wife, seated in the back the whole way, had complained that I chose our first lodging too far from Paris, grumbling about how long and tiring the drive was. And now to discover that the bungalow had no air conditioning, it was frustrating beyond words. To make up for my mistake, I dragged my heavy, weary body to the supermarket. But no matter how I thought about it, I just couldn't understand. How could a country wealthier than Korea not have air conditioning in its lodgings? Carrying the groceries back, I returned to the accommodation. By then, my wife had already prepared dinner. My eldest son, who had been studying in the UK, confessed that he had missed Korean food deeply over the past year. That evening, we shared a warm Korean soup he loved. With a glass of French wine alongside the meal, my worries quickly melted away. After all, what else can ease a heavy heart as swiftly as a single cup of wine? The fact that I drove 600 kilometers in a single day gives me a quiet sense of pride, even if my body feels exhausted. My family endured a lot too, but especially you. From the moment you were born, you met the wrong owner, and on your very first day, you had to run 600 kilometers. What a rough start. And I need to make a correction from part 1. Back then, I said you had already driven 800 kilometers when we first met. That wasn't true. You had only run 800 meters before you came into my hands. We spent our first night in Europe. Did I sleep well? Not at all. It was a terrible night. Having no air conditioning turned out to be dreadful. But the real problem wasn't the heat. Compared to Korea's sweltering, humid summers, a French summer evening feels more like early autumn back home. Last night, once darkness fell, the air grew cool and pleasant. I finally understood why many places in France don't bother with air conditioning. Under this kind of weather, you can live without it. No, the real problem was mosquitoes. Since there was no air conditioning, we left the windows open, and soon dozens of mosquitoes began attacking us throughout the night. No matter how many we swatted, more kept appearing. The constant whining sound in our ears drove away every trace of sleep. Yesterday, I couldn't understand why France didn't have air conditioning. Last night, I couldn't understand why France didn't have window screens. Let me explain by going back home, to Korea. I live in an apartment with 4 rooms and 2 bathrooms. Because Korea has little land, people build tall apartment complexes and live clustered together. More than half of Koreans live in apartments. In my living room stands my beloved 85-inch LG TV, which I bought 2 years ago. Ever since then, I haven't stepped into a movie theater. I just watch Netflix. If only I had bought Netflix stock back then, I'd be rich now. But I bought Alphabet instead, because I run a YouTube channel. Still, the returns have been good. Unlike many other countries, most Korean apartments also have balconies. Because living space is small, many families extend the balcony to enlarge the living room. But my living room is already spacious enough, so I left the balcony as it is. Anyway, here's my point. Mosquitoes. In Korea, every apartment has window screens. I can say with certainty, there isn't a single apartment without them. Nobody lets mosquitoes into their homes. But in France, there's no air conditioning and no window screens either. How should I make sense of this? I do know one thing. Korean sliding doors make it easy to install screens, while French hinged windows make it more difficult. Still, the attitude toward mosquitoes seems completely different. In Korea, with its many mountains and rivers, mosquitoes make life unbearable in summer. But here, people just seem to tolerate them. What a miserable night it was. We decided we had no choice but to buy mosquito repellent right away. In the morning, my wife was once again busy preparing breakfast. Today, for our eldest son, she made a Korean-style perilla seed spaghetti with a special sauce using ground perilla seeds. Meanwhile, I thought to myself that I should finally enjoy the wine I couldn't drink properly last night. From today on, I wouldn't have to drive. My eldest son had recovered his energy. Since it felt odd to just start drinking, I decided to give my sons a short lecture on wine. There are many ways to classify wine, I began, but today your dad will explain it by color. By color, wines fall into 3 categories: white wine, red wine, and the rosé wine that I'm drinking right now. In fact, this is my first time ever tasting rosé. We then sat down to breakfast. The presentation might not have been fancy, but the side dishes carried the love and effort of my wife, who had prepared them back in Korea. The yellow one was radish pickled in turmeric. Another was chili peppers marinated in soy sauce, and one was dried fish with spicy red pepper seasoning. These dishes don't spoil easily, which is why she had brought them from Korea. After breakfast, we set off. Our destination was Saint-Émilion, a medieval village just 40 minutes away. With my eldest son driving, a glass of rosé warming me, and endless waves of vineyards flowing past the window, I was overcome with a deep sense of awe.
At 29 and I find myself wondering what did happen to the last 10. I ran away with my life, fast forward, never turn back again. It's kind of funny that the more we pass time, the more we need to set the rewind. And 19 was the year I had to leave you, but now I'm seeing all the signs. Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you. Is this really happening? I can't be too sure, but one day I'll be yours.
When the church spire appeared in the distance, I knew we had arrived in Saint-Émilion. The moment we parked the car, I ran straight into the vineyards. I had been curious to see the grapes up close. The small clusters looked so delicate, almost cute, and I found it fascinating to think that these little berries would one day become fragrant wine. As you enter Saint-Émilion, what captures your attention first are the stone buildings glowing in a soft cream hue. Bathed in sunlight, they radiate a gentle warmth, while the age-worn alleys seem to slow your steps without you realizing. Walking along the narrow streets, you can't help but be intoxicated by the subtle scent of wine wafting from every corner. Wineries line the alleys, their glasses catching the sunlight and sparkling like jewels. Then, when you lift your gaze, medieval towers still rise proudly into the sky. Traces of the past linger at every bend, making you feel as though you've become a traveler from another age. Here, time seems to flow more slowly. The noise of modern cities disappears, leaving only the quiet breeze and the fragrance of grapes to fill the air. For a moment, all worries fall away. Surrounded by wine, sunlight, and the warmth of stone walls, I feel nothing but pure joy. Deeper in the village, A massive rock-hewn church carved into limestone reveals itself. Unlike the dazzling exteriors above, its interior is serene and mysterious, the faded frescoes still glowing softly despite the centuries. Beside the church lies a small cloister garden. In this courtyard, where sunlight and shadow weave together, one can pause to breathe. The wind drifting through stone columns and arches feels like the breath of ancient prayers. Saint-Émilion is more than just a wine village. It is a sanctuary of time, one that leads you both into the past and into yourself. After an unforgettable time in Saint-Émilion, we now head to the city of Bordeaux, just 40 minutes away. To enter Bordeaux, we must cross the Grand Bridge that spans the Garonne River. Before us lies a city that is far more than just a home of wine. During the French Revolution, this was the stronghold of the Girondins, and for centuries it has been hailed as the sacred land of wine. But Bordeaux's story goes back even further. Here, in Bordeaux Cathedral, Eleanor of Aquitaine married Henry II of England, an event that ignited the 100 Years' War. Bordeaux, a city where revolution, war, and the history of wine all converge. Stay tuned for the next episode of Zhang's one-month journey through Europe. Up next, the wonders of Bordeaux.
Life lessons come one in a dozen.